For nearly 60 years, the world's largest democracy maintained a significant presence of communist-led state governments. Today, following the latest election results, that map is empty. Not a single state or union territory in India remains under communist rule. Long-standing strongholds have officially flipped. In West Bengal, the party's decades of control ended, and even in Kerala, power has shifted toward opposing coalitions. This domestic shift in India has caught the attention of political observers in the West, who are now using these results to frame a much larger debate about the future of the ideology itself. American policy experts quickly turned the news into a viral talking point. They are pointing to India's results to argue that while a rising global power is discarding these economic theories, the United States is beginning to experiment with them. This anxiety centers on local U.S. politicians who advocate for aggressive wealth redistribution and new, heavy taxes on billionaires. Figures like Donald Trump have leaned into this rhetoric, frequently labeling these local policies as communist to highlight what they see as a dangerous shift in American domestic priorities. For these critics, the Indian elections serve as a case study. They use India's rejection of wealth redistribution as evidence to argue that these policies are unsustainable, even in developing economies. The central criticism of this model is that extreme wealth redistribution eventually removes the incentive for competition, which causes economic innovation to stall. This realization drove the mass collapses of the 1990s. Across countries like Albania and Bulgaria, centrally planned economies were abandoned as the state could no longer maintain growth or provide basic goods. Today, that global presence has dwindled to just 4 officially communist states: China, Cuba, North Korea, and Vietnam. This map shows the degree of isolation. A system that once governed nearly a third of the world's population is now restricted to these specific, disconnected regions. Statistically, the traditional model of statewide communism is at its lowest point in modern history. China remains the only major exception to this decline, possessing the largest economy in Asia and a dominant global tech sector. To achieve this, the Chinese government adopted a hybrid model. They permitted the rise of private companies and billionaires, effectively using capitalist tools to fund the state's growth. However, the state maintains strict control by heavily taxing these billionaires and intervening in their businesses, ensuring that private wealth never challenges the party's authority. To maintain its global economic position, the party prioritized private sector growth over pure communist doctrine. Cuba, by contrast, has avoided the Chinese model. The government has largely clung to traditional, centrally planned economics without integrating private market mechanisms. The result is a stagnant economy defined by rising poverty and a lack of political competition, leading to recent anti-government protests targeting party headquarters. Without the economic adaptations seen in China or Vietnam, the Cuban state is struggling to provide for its population under the traditional model. U.S. geopolitical strategists are tracking these internal failures alongside the political shifts in India to identify opportunities for regional change. Donald Trump has signaled a strategy to capitalize on Cuba's economic instability, hoping to encourage a popular pro-capitalist movement within the country. A long-term goal is to replace the current administration in Havana with a pro-U.S. government that favors market-oriented policies. India's election results provide a data point for those who argue the ideology is losing its global grip, leaving Cuba as a significant test case for the survival of the traditional system.